Welcome to the podcast. Chris Graham here with Crystal Graham on our Augusta Free Press news podcast. And we're going to talk about, I'd say a fun story coming up this weekend in Waynesboro. There's going to be a show at the Foundry that will definitely catch your attention if you're there. The headline for the story, Crystal, that you wrote, bartender drag queen finds home in Staunton, aka the Queen City. Tell us about Alejandro Circelli and how you came about chatting with Alejandro. And this was a neat story, learning more about his life.
Sure. So Alejandro works as a bartender in Stanton, actually, and is going to be part of the show. He's actually organizes the show and transforms himself into the Alejandro Queen as part of a drag performance this weekend at the Foundry Saturday night at 8:30. The path to get there, though, Chris, has been an interesting one. And what brought him to Stanton is even more interesting. But this is the place that he calls home now, and he's found kind of his people here. The show that's happening at the Foundry is with Shag Wolf, and if anybody knows them, they're known for their, they say, freakiness, but outrageousness. They're very supportive of Black Lives Matter and the LGBTQ community in general, and have performed at the Foundry several times. I actually saw Alejandro perform last year during Pride Month as well. So it's not the first time that I've seen the show, and there's performances also in Stanton, usually drag brunches and things of that nature. But yeah, so for as far as the story of Alejandro, came to Stanton after kind of a messy divorce, was living in Los Angeles at the time, had been doing drag performances in Los Angeles, and came back here because of the divorce. His family, they're from Venezuela, a small town in Venezuela, moved here, I think, just prior to September 11th. Lived in New York for a while. His mother was naturalized. He became a citizen, and his path took him to Spain and then later to Los Angeles. So when he arrived here in Stanton, it was kind of just a heal from a divorce. Something that we can all kind of relate to. But his mother ended up getting very sick and ended up actually dying after a few months of an illness that he said was originally misdiagnosed. And so, in mourning and everything, he said he didn't know if he was ever going to do drag again. He was very sad and depressed, and just, I think, in his words, not joyful. And to him, pride and dressing up in drag is to bring joy to people's life, and he wasn't sure that he could do that anymore. And so the opportunity came up several months after his mom died. He finally felt like maybe he could kind of do an ode to his mother and do a character, or do a performance based on, kind of her aesthetics and what he remembered about her. She was always supportive of him as a gay man, and also when he dressed up in drag, and kind of gave him tips and stuff along the way. So he kind of came out with a new character, and that is the Alejandra Queen, which is the outrageous, kind of bigger than life mother character that he is going to bring to the Foundry on Saturday night. So the whole story about how that all came together was part of what we talked about, Chris. But we also talked about, kind of the atmosphere, the politics of being in the LGBT community right now.
One thing I liked about the story and the interview you did with him was talking about, okay, so he plays, this role, and has fun with it, and it's very entertaining, the Alejandro Queen. But then Alejandro the bartender, he talked about, and being working in downtown Stanton. You've got all walks of life coming in and interacting with you, and in between drinks, he starts conversations, and that helps break down the stereotypes. I mean, his shows do too, in a sense. I mean, they're entertaining and they bring people from all walks of life in, but he does the same thing just on his day job.
Yeah, when he landed in Stanton, of course, it's a blue dot in a very red area. And you can imagine people that come to bars in Stanton are kind of from the entire region, not just Stanton proper. And so, he referred to them as country cowboys, that kind of come into the bar. And he said a lot of times the first time that somebody comes in, they might be a little apprehensive. seeing him and not really want to interact, but his personality is to kind of break that down and to let them kind of see him, as a person, as a human being, more than just as a gay man. And so he said it's funny now because some of those same people that originally came in they now come in and they're like, "Hey, Queen," or you know, use words like slay in conversations with him and things of that nature. And he also said that a lot of times, if they're sitting at the bar, that he does a lot of hands-on selling of tickets, right? Instead of just online sales to his shows, and he'll be talking about the show. And, sometimes the girlfriends or wives are like, "Oh, we should go to that." And the men are like, "Well, I don't know. I don't know about drag." And, his whole point is that, for people who've never been to any a Pride event or, maybe a drag show of any kind, it's all about self-expression. And being yourself and, breaking down these walls and these barriers. And so for him and for, when he's in character as the Alejandro Queen, for her, it's all about making people laugh a little, have a good time, and so that's the idea behind the show, is that you'll leave with joy, you'll leave with happiness. And it's obviously Alejandro is a very positive human being and likes to project that on the people around them and in her performance.
You wanted to talk about more about the transformation from Alejandro to the Alejandro Queen. I mean, this is not something that he just puts on a wig and a little bit of eyeliner and he's all of a sudden the Alejandro Queen. It's a process.
Yeah, he said transforming into the Alejandro Queen is about a 2.5 hour process. It's everything from the shaving and the padding that you might have to use, but also it is the big makeup. It's makeup and hair and really feeling that character, so to speak. There's also a lot of accessories, jewelry, costumes. A lot of thinking goes into it even before, I'm sure, show day, as far as exactly how you want to look. There was a fun photo shoot that Alejandro did with Shagwolf, who's performing at the Foundry with them as part of this performance. And you can see Alejandro in all her glory, the Alejandro Queen, because the makeup's all done up, and the big shoes and the jewelry and the makeup. It's just incredible. And so it's definitely a transformation, and it's not a quick one. It definitely takes some time, and that's likely for all the performers, because it's not just the Alejandro Queen that will be on the stage. Alejandro kind of serves as the host, you might say, of the event, and usually the headliner of the event. But there are a number of performers that will actually take the stage on Saturday night. And I know for me, the first time I think I ever saw drag was probably in Vegas at a drag brunch. But much of what I saw at the Foundry the last time I was there was very similar. You have to, even if you've never seen drag and you're not real sure about it, you will appreciate, the fact that these individuals have put so much time and effort into their appearance and into, their celebration basically of women. And that's how Alejandro sees this, is, like he said that he just has so much respect for women. A lot of that came from his mother. And it's just a way for him to kind of embrace that and celebrate that.
One thing about this, mentioning Crystal, that you have been to shows both in Vegas and here locally. These shows aren't just for the LGBTQ plus community. He talked in the interview, Alejandro did, about the how these kind of shows can kind of demonstrate to the LGBTQ plus community that allies are on their side, so to speak, and how important that is. And he mentioned in this, when you interviewed him, it's that ticket sales were initially slower than had been expected, and maybe there's a backlash. I mean, we're in the Trump era, where certainly the during the campaign last year, there was a lot of rhetoric about the trans community, and that's only upped since Trump's gotten back into office. Um, Talk about, if you could, the importance of just the allies coming out, and this is a way to show support, one of the ways, and also have a good time.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just it, Chris. I mean, you look at Pride in general, and there are parades happening in DC and big celebrations happening this weekend, and things of that nature. But the importance, I think, of allies showing up is to show that, even if I think there was a thought that maybe there was some fear initially, fear for allies that maybe something bad would happen, right? If they went to this event. And Alejandro addressed that with me and said that that was one of the considerations he had with, should I do a pride show? Should I do a pride show or not? Because obviously they want it to be a very safe space. But having a community that is obviously feeling like a lot of people in the world don't want them here. And taking that community and having a crowd full of people cheering them on, and it's not just the performers. You'll When you go to one of these shows, there are people milling about and that kind of thing that are performers in their own ways. They're not all dressed in drag, but they're all embracing their LGBTQ, ness, their queerness, and they're wearing costumes, and they're wearing glitter, and they're wearing their glow and things of that nature. And so it is one big party. And so I think that, Alejandro and the other performers are really just hoping that the community will come out, gay, straight, everyone, just come out and support the art form. If nothing else. And the political environment was a big part of the conversation that I had with Alejandro, because obviously being an immigrant, he came here from Venezuela with his family. And so, what's happening around the world, when it specific to immigrants. And then you mentioned the LGBTQ backlash. There was even an effort to try to get drag performances canceled in some cities and states, and so all of that kind of coming together. I guess his messages: we're all human, we all have a heartbeat, just recognizing that people may be different than us, but that there's probably more that you have alike than you that are actually different.
I love the photos from the photo shoot you talked about.
Oh,
There's
so
some
fun.
yeah, there's some good. They had fun with that. As we wrap up here, give us the details. We As we're talking here on Friday, the show is tomorrow night. What are the details for tomorrow night's show?
Yeah, sure. So whether or not it's tomorrow night's show, which is at the Foundry, I put a link in the story to the Alejandro Queen's website. There's also some other events happening, in and around the area, Staunton, things of that nature. But the Foundry show with Shagwolf is happening Saturday night at 8:30. Tickets are $15 in advance, $20 if you come to the door and want to come in. Doors open at 7 o'clock for those of you like us who like to go early and get some food before the performance and mill around a little bit. You can certainly do that as well. The performance is for ages 18 and up. That's the only caveat. But as long as you meet that criteria and you want to come out and you want to show support and love for a community that is feeling like I said, like just that there's a lot of people in this world who don't want them here. This is a chance for all of us to show that we do want them here and that they do matter, and that this is an art form that we all can appreciate. And even for those people, those country cowboys that come to the bar and may not understand it, they can certainly understand the joy and the celebration and everything that happens behind the doors.
We will be there among others, so we'll give that endorsement as well. Well, Crystal, thank you so much for doing this story, and thank you for your time talking.
Yeah, I'm so glad that Alejandro was willing to share his journey and his transformation with me.
All right, well, that wraps us up. Thanks again for everyone taking a part listening. If you want to go back and read the story, it's on AugustaFreePress.com.